Well, the first thing that comes to mind is one of the core issues uh, that suicidal people are dealing with is hopelessness. And, we can deal with a lot of pain if we know that it's going to end at some point. But when you have no hope, it's really, really difficult, if not impossible at times, to tolerate the pain that you're in. So if I feel hopeless about something, why share it? Why reach out? You're probably not going to understand. You can't do anything about it anyway, and I don't want to burden you. And so that's the first thing that comes to mind. But most reasons that teenagers are afraid of talking about their thoughts or their plans comes down to these two things. What are you going to think of me if I tell you this? And what are you going to do if I tell you this? They're afraid of overreaction or underreaction. And I'll talk about both of those. There's a lot of different ways that a parent can overreact. The most toxic way or the most damaging way would be to be shaming, to ridicule, to have sort of an angry reaction. This is ridiculous. I don't get it. You know, maybe guilt trip them, tell them how, quote, selfish it is. And, these kids, or anybody, not just kids, if I'm thinking about suicide, you likely feel horrible about yourself already. And so this is just going to make things worse. Yeah. Another way to overreact is to jump into action with some sort of response before you've heard them out. You know, the first thought is, are they going to put me in the hospital? Are they going to put me, somewhere? And it may be that they can commit to safety, that they're having what we call passive suicidal thoughts, that they don't want to die, they don't have a plan, but they can't. It's really hard for them not to think about it, and to think about, what if I just went to sleep and didn't wake up, or people would be better off if I wasn't around. And so they can commit to safety. They just need to be heard. They just need these thoughts to come out and be received. If they have, yes, it's important to ask them if, how would you do it? Have you thought about that? And if they give you an idea of what they thought about, well, I'd probably overdose, or I'm thinking about hanging myself, or I'm thinking, they tell you a method, then you go into it a little bit more. Well, where would you get the gun, or what would you overdose on, and when were you thinking about, when skipping school one day, and now a lot of these plans, if they're really thinking about it and they're serious about it, they're probably not going to be open about what the details are, because they don't want you to stop them. But the more detailed the plan, the more serious the situation. And if you feel at all that they're in immediate danger, then that's when you need to, number one, don't leave them alone, and number two, get some help. Teenagers are also afraid that you may be dismissive or not take them seriously, not that your response won't match the seriousness of how they feel, and that you may try to talk them out of it or jump to reassure them. Oh, and it's real easy to throw these empty cliches at them. You got your whole life ahead of you, and that's one of the reasons they want to die, or they're thinking about dying, is because the life that they're experiencing, they got that whole life ahead of them, and that feels intolerable to them. So that's not a good one to say. Or you have plenty of reasons to live. You can't give me my reasons to live. Only I can give me my reasons to live. So they're afraid you're going to try to jump and talk them out of it. And now, there's nothing wrong with trying to talk a teenager out of committing suicide. That's important. That's called for if they're serious. But to try to talk them out of their feelings, you can't logic someone out of their feelings. They're just their feelings. And so when they're just talking about how they feel and their perception and how, what they're thinking about, it's important to be accepting of those. Behaviors are different, but just feelings, all feelings accepted. It is a very common myth that talking to them about their feelings and thoughts will actually push them to do it. The truth is that the opposite is more likely to happen, that it helps them. And here's why. Another issue alongside hopelessness that's at the core of feeling suicidal is disconnection, feeling lonely, feeling isolated and that nobody understands. And here I am holding all this in. It's so heavy and overwhelming. And so when I share this with you and you don't overreact and you don't blow it off and minimize it and try to talk me out of it, but you listen to me respectfully, and it's important to use the words, don't dance around the issue. Use the word suicide. Use the word ending, the phrase ending your life. Talk about it directly. Those words are not dangerous. Killing yourself. These are, because that's the reality. When you talk about it directly without, overreacting or underreacting, and you're being accepting, and you're telling them how much you do care about them, I feel a connection. I feel less lonely. Here I am, this heavy thing. Now you're helping me hold it. It's a little lighter, and I don't feel so alone. So it's actually helpful, very helpful, and crucial to talk about it openly. You acknowledge that, and that whether you understand that or not, you tell them, I understand it, because it is normal, for them to not necessarily want to tell you everything that's going on in their life. Think about when you were a kid. We kept some things from our parents. But you acknowledge that and tell them, hey, that is your right. I understand. You don't, no pressure. You do not have to talk to me about this. But I have noticed some things, and here's what I've noticed that concerns me. And you don't have to talk to me, but will you talk to someone? Can we agree on someone that you trust, that you can talk to? And I will stay out of it. Even, if it's a friend or a family member, or if it's a counselor, that as long as you can be safe, I don't have to know about it. It's all confidential. And to encourage them to reach out to someone, but that it's okay not to talk to me, because that's refreshing. They don't really hear that very often. Normally what they're feeling is pressure from you, and so when they sense that acceptance, then it actually makes them more likely to open up to you.